Greetings, comrades. Today we're back here with another tutorial video for ConsolePort on World of Warcraft, and we're going to be doing the Paladin today, just to kind of show you how I like to play Paladin on the ConsolePort, but I'm also going to be going into quite the in-depth version of ConsolePort so that you can see like literally everything. If you need help setting up, basically installing it, that's on my channel under the WoW playlist, so go check that out if you don't have it installed. Once you have that installed, come back to this video and I will show you everything that we need to get going here. Alright, so the next part is we're going to set up our graphics, and if you go in here and go under the ConsolePort settings, you can go to Guide and then go to Graphics if this does not automatically come up for you. And we're going to want to select the controller that we're using. So for me, I don't know if you can see that, but that is the Xbox controller that I'm going to be using. But you have your Nintendo Switch Pro, PlayStation 4, PlayStation 5, and Steam Deck options, and Xbox is at the bottom. So I'm going to go ahead and click Continue. Underneath the modifiers, I like to keep this on the triggers of LT, RT, and what these triggers mean is on LT and RT, basically pops up different hotbars. So if you've ever played Final Fantasy XIV and used its controller scheme, it's very similar. So I'm going to keep this here, but if you want to change that, you can change it to LT instead, or even go in here and do it custom like. All up to you how you want to set it up. And under mouse, I have regular basically inputs on the joypads, and you can invert these if you want to, and then you can also test the device, move things around on your controller. And underneath movement here, you've got tank, balanced, and follow. And what this basically means is if you're playing a tank, which you might be on Paladin, the configuration will always strafe, so it always keep you basically facing your enemy. And I'm going to show you what that kind of look like. We got it on balanced right now because I play Retribution. So if we go in here, I have this set to the legacy, and way that World of Warcraft defines it is you've got legacy movement style and modern. In legacy, when you hit the keyboard, the A and the D, you turn left or you turn right. And you can see this is kind of what that does. A goes that way, kind of makes me go left, and then D makes me go right. Also, having that set up on the controller, you'll go backwards. And you can see why this might not be preferable on the tank, or even any class in general, because you don't want to take that back damage. I don't know if it's still in Modern WoW or not, but preferably if you're fighting the enemies, you always want to make sure that you're always facing them. So let me show you how to change that, because I'm pretty sure by default it enables analog movement, and I don't know what your key binding setup's in, so we're going to go into Options, Regular WoW Options, under Key Bindings and Movement. Under here where it says movement keys, and we're going to do strafe left and strafe right, and we're going to bind that to A and D respectively. So now when I close this, instead of turning the camera like this, I'm going to strafe. See how I'm strafing left and right? And now on the ConsolePort version, we're going to click on the ConsolePort icon, go under settings, and then you're going to want to go to menu, or not menu, movement. And in movement, you'll turn analog off. Once it's off, you'll notice that if I go backwards, I can now keep facing my enemy. So this is all preferential how you want to set that up. If you want more freedom moving backwards, because it can be annoying to have to turn all the way around in order to go back, it's completely up to you. I know for the PvE, out in the PvE world, I actually like to turn the analog stick on, because I'm not in such a high stress environment where I always need to be facing my enemy. And this basically gives me the freedom to move around. And that's pretty much the movement side and the graphics of the controller. So let's go ahead and jump into the key binding sections. All right, for the key binding section, we want to open up this, and then we want to go into Settings, Action Bars. Underneath Action Bars, this is where you kind of set all of your abilities at, and I'll show you kind of how I set mine and how you can change them, and even how to fix a very weird issue. So first, we're going to go over here, and this is currently set to X. And I can click on this, and I can go under Abilities, and I can hit Paladin. And if you want your specific specialization, basically, you can go to Retribution, and it gives you all the retribution options. So right now it's set to Judgment, but if I click on Intercession, Boom, it's changed to intercession. We'll close this out, and you can see it's updated on the bar down there. Now, I'm going to go back in here, and I'm going to change that back to judgment, because that's where I like my judgment ability, and we're going to set that to judgment. Now, there's another way of doing this. If you open up your spells, your spell book, you can see that you can actually click and drag things. So if I want Hammer of Justice right here, I can click and drag it. Boom, just like that. Now I have that set to X. I'm going to change that back. And that's just another way that you can move around the hotkeys. Now, for the main action bar part, I like to have all the stuff that I really like to use the most being in front of me, just because that's the way that my brain works. So I like having Judgment, Blade of Justice, and Hammer of Justice all on this key, this set of buttons right here. And because this is kind of my single target rotation, and if we go over here, we have Wake of Ashes and Divine Storm. So this is kind of like your AoE stuff. It kind of lets your brain separate the two. And I've got my execute on the bottom here because I feel like, you know, like you're throwing downward, like the Hammer of Justice throws downward, so it's easier for my brain to figure out that the down key is the way to do that. And we've got basically Eternal Flame set here. This is our replacement for Word of Glory. Now, under the LT options, I set all of my cooldowns. So, Lay on Hands, Divine Protection, Final Reckoning, Divine Toll, Flash of Light, Rebuke, and Intercession. And I also have my Mount key set to LB. And the reason I like to set that here is if we open it up, it replaces your hotbar with the Mount hotbar. And you can do the exact same thing that I showed you before, and hit that LT button where you can see where I have it set as LB. Now remember, any of this stuff is draggable. So if you open up your mount, you can drag a mount and set it to any button that you want. You can also do this in the interface. So it's up to you where you want to put your mount at, but I like having the same location on both the mount hotbar and my regular hotbar. So I'm going to go ahead and hop off of this. And then on my RT option, I've got something really unique going on here, but I'll explain that in a second when we get to the Holy specialization and I talk about that for a bit. Now, you'll notice that there are a few things that are hard-coded, or not really hard-coded, but you'll notice you can't drag them. So we're like the menu ring. You can't drag that. The jump key, you can't drag that. Those have to be changed underneath the console port settings if that's not where you want them to be. All right. So what you're going to want to do here is you're going to go under bindings, and underneath bindings, it lets you do a few things. The first thing it lets you do, so like you see how I have jump set to A, and you couldn't move that on the hotbar. If you go down here, you can't move it, but you can click on it, and then you can set this to any key you want. I'm going to leave it at A, but you can press whatever button you want and it'll set it that way. And same goes for the game menu. Now, I like to keep the game menu on my RT button, and if you open it up, this is what it looks like. So you'll have a whole bunch of different stuff that you can select from basically the menu down here. So if you're wanting a quick way of doing it, you can like open up your warband collections, hit A to close out the menu, and then you can use your D-pad to move around the menu. Just like this. So like you could change your mounts like this, and then if I press the right key, I can actually go over here to the scroll bar, and you can even hold LT and kind of move this down like this. And that's just another way that you can move around your basically your menus. Now we'll go back into these primary categories. You can set a whole bunch of different stuff, like underneath special. Underneath special is where you've got your menu ring, your quick menu, your utility ring, and a whole bunch of other options. So you can play around with all this stuff, but that's this stuff that you want to change. But I like leaving this at LT, RTA for the utility ring, and the menu ring at being RTA. And then there's another thing that I want you guys to be doing as well. If you go in here and go into options, you want to make sure that your enable interact key is selected. That is basically your universal click everything button. And you'll see interact key is set to LT. And what this means is is, say you've got an item to use in the world, or you want to loot, or you want to click on an NPC to accept a new quest, and you want to actually accept the quest. LT does that button for everything. So we're going to go up, and I want to show you one other thing in here, not under these options. We're going to go underneath. You got to remember what it's called here. Okay, so under combat, if you enable action targeting, it enables like a dynamic targeting system. So if you're looking at this enemy, you see the yellow underneath him? That means I'm currently targeting him. And then you can also see his icon pop up there, depending on where you've got your health bar set up. We got two different things here. So if I look at this, I'm targeting it. And if I look at this, I'm targeting that. Now you can go into the options here, and underneath the primary, you can hit target nearest enemy. Your target nearest enemy set to RT if you want a faster way of just targeting whatever closest enemy you are close to. But I've often found that the dynamic action targeting works just fine. And then you'll be able to also go in here, and you can change almost everything about this, from like the camera, like setting different views. You can also zoom in and out. You can see what these zoom in and out keys are. And then you can, there's a final thing here. All right, so the final thing I want to cover is the utility bar. As you can see right now, I've just got two things on here. And you can toggle these basically by moving around the left joypad here, like this, and then you just release on whatever action bar that you have set up. All right, we're under the console port settings, and then we're going to want the rings section for the utility bar. And you'll notice this little graph, and there's a few options down here. And you can change the accept button, what the sticky selection does, press and hold if that's what you want. And that's usually what I do. I use these two default options so that when you release it, it's like whatever you're on. Now, if you click Action Ring, you can see that these are the two abilities that I have set. All right, so now that we have the utility ring selected and you can see the ring itself, you can click on Loadout, click Abilities, and click on anything that you want. So if, let's say, we're going to go into our backpack, and I want my Hearthstone to be right here. We're going to click and drag it. All right, now the Hearthstone is set to that top ring. And we can also go in here and set a bunch of other stuff. So if you want to put like a mount, or even have a bunch of mounts, you can just click on it, and boom, we have a mount set to the utility bar. And if you want to remove it, just right click it, boom, it's gone. And that's basically how you set anything that you want to the utility ring and use anything on the utility ring. And that's usually what I prefer, is setting the Hearthstone there and a few other option items. So like if I go in here into my backpack, I've got a few fun stuff that I could set, like the Tabard of the Argent Crusade if I want to quickly switch tabards. I don't have any of my usual tools in my backpack for some reason, like my Dalaran Hearthstone I usually like to have in here, and my I think it's like a tabard that allows you to teleport. I used to have that in here as well. I think that's under the toys and collections, but you could set that stuff on your hot ring as well. So yeah, that covers the key binding section and the utility ring. All right, so next thing I want to go over is basically the specialization difference between the two paladins and what you might need as a basically to help you figure things out. And we're going to go ahead and switch specializations here. So we're going to go to specialization, and we'll activate Holy. All right, Holy is activated. Now, as a healer, there are two options that you want if you want to be able to heal on the controller. And it's something that you might have to get used to. There's the casual way and kind of like the hardcore way, if you can even differentiate it like that. So the casual way that I like to do for basically dungeons is I like having the toggleable target party member. So if I hit RT here, you'll see I have target party member 1, 2, 3, and 4. And you can change that in your options. So if we go in here into options, not the console port version now, mind you, under key bindings, and it's going to be under targeting. We go down here into targeting, target party member 1, 2, 3, 4. I have all mine set to RT up, right, down, left. But you guys can change this to whatever you want to. This basically means if you have a party portrait up in the top left-hand corner, you can quickly toggle between these two based on which party member you're trying to target. That allows you to get quick heals out, and then you can just hit your start key, which is basically your exit, to basically go back to regular targeting. The other way that you can heal, and this is for more complex raid environments, or if you don't like quickly toggling like I just showed you, is going under settings under ConsolePort, going to the binding section, and you'll see right here it says toggle raid cursor, and that is LT plus start. If you hit LT start, you'll notice that the cursor is now over the fox. So now if you look, I can actually hover between these two, just like that. And if I click on one of my heals here, I just healed myself. And then you'll just hit the LT start button, and then it'll take the raid cursor off. And for the tank part, we can switch specializations over here. Now that we've swapped over, we can go over here, and the only thing I really want to tell you to put on your main action hotbar is your taunt, for obvious reasons. And this can also be helpful for targeting party members, especially if you're playing on Paladin and you've just got a bunch of holy charges saved up and you want to heal somebody. Especially if you're like in a duo environment or something, you quickly want to pop a heal on your friend, it can be helpful. Alright, the last thing I want to go over here before I let you guys go is you can always enable the interact key here, or you can change it to be a specific instance that the interact key is on. You can enable arc allowance where you can find a suitable target. This is also kind of like some of the settings for the raid cursor. You can click advanced, and then you can set what the D-pads do for moving up and down, and you can choose whether or not it shows the portrait. We can do a fun few things on the targeting section, like targeting automatic or enemies by automatically looking at them. That's the action dynamic camera I showed you earlier. Now we can also go in here, and this is something that I personally like to do, is I like to turn this crosshair off. I don't like crosshairs, but if it helps you, you can leave it on. But you can even adjust the color and all that good stuff on it. Let me know if you guys got stuck on anything or if you had any questions, but that's pretty much the guide for Paladin. If you found this video helpful, please consider subscribing and liking to the channel. That lets me know you want to see more of these. But until next time, Dreas out.